In this video, we're going to look at a variety of shoes and the best angles to cover to show as much as possible of the shoe. Before I start with the shot, I'm going to make sure they're clean. You can clean the shoe with the cloth. Another really good thing to use instead of a cloth is the canned air. The canned air gets rid of all those little dust particles that the cloth can't get rid of. So just spray the shoes. Also make sure any labels underneath the sole or the side is taken off. Our first shot is going to be our main shot. And for this shot, we're going to go ahead and place the back shoe in a straight line. And I'm going to have the front shoe at a 3/4 view so the customer can see both shoes. The thing to look out for with this shot to make it look as good as possible is to line up the backs. To maintain the consistency on the side, you might want to put a little marker where you had the shoe standing. That way you would ensure that on your website all the shoes will be exactly in the same angle. So I'm just going to go ahead, take a little bit of tape just to mark where the front of the shoe was and the back. Make sure you still look on the screen because it might not be 100% accurate. If the shoe is wider or longer, your angles might still shift even if you have your markers. Another way of making sure that your angles are maintained is by using an overlay. To choose an overlay, you click the image that you want to use for the overlay. Then you're going to select the 2 circles, add to overlays, go out of the image and go into your live view. Once you're in the live view, you're going to click the 2 circles again, select image, and then choose your overlay image that you want to use. Our second angle is going to be a back shot, showing the back of the shoes. So for this shot, I'm going to go ahead and move the shoes. I'm going to keep the left one at a straight angle as we had for our first shot, and the right shoe slightly pointing outwards, exactly the same as it was for our front shot. I'm also going to go ahead and just make this a little bit rounder. It looks a bit narrow. Sometimes you can squeeze it out like this with your fingers. Other times you might have to add a bit of tissue paper to it. Then make sure the zips are nice and neat. Nothing is sticking out too much. We can also use a little bit of double-sided tape. Fold it together so it's really small so you don't see it in the picture. And then I'm going to stick it down like that. And that looks much nicer. So for our third shot, I'm going to focus on having a single shoe in. So you can either just have it straight like this, or you can have it at a 3/4 angle again. I'm going to go ahead and just have it straight so you see the full length of the shoe. For the fourth and last shot, I'm going to go ahead and do a detail shot of the toe of the shoe. So we just want the shoe right up like this. To achieve this shot, you could use the other shoe. It doesn't matter if you have anything here at the bottom because we're going to crop in anyway so you won't see it. To stabilize it, just use any tools you have around you. Since it's going to be detail, it's important that it's really clean. So just spray it a little bit. You might want to add some additional detail shots. Just have a look at the shoe and choose whatever is relevant for it and show that to your customer. Next, I'm going to do all the shots for a pair of men's sneakers. So just keep in mind, again, to prepare the shoes. These ones have a bit of suede, so perhaps brush them so the suede looks really nice and neat. Make sure the tongues of the sneakers are placed in the correct position and that the lacing is really neat and tidy. So as I mentioned before with the boots, the easiest way to get the same angles for your main shot is by using an overlay. I'm also looking out for any details of these shoes, and I've noticed that these have some really lovely soles with a quite interesting detail here. So I'm going to do an extra shot for that to make sure the customers can see that lovely detail. So I've got another pair of shoes here. I'm going to go ahead and do my first shot. After I finish my main shot, I will also go ahead and do all the other angles that we need to cover. So for this pair of shoe, you might want to do a nice toe shot, or you might want to show the contrasting colors on the heel between the sole that's brown and the white leather. For our last shoe, I'm going to show you how to style a women's wear sandal. These gladiators can be quite tricky to style and time consuming as they don't have a lot of structure to them. So I'm going to use some nylon thread to hold those straps in place. As you can see, I've already got my nylon thread hanging here. I'm using these to hold up the sandal. So these sandals tend to want to collapse together a little bit and be really narrow. So the nylon thread enables us to widen them a little bit and level things out. I've tied that one there and then looped it around the upper strap. You can either tie it to the top. I prefer to just place it into some blue tack. You might also need to lift the back strap up if you see that that's dipping down and the other one is not. So I'm going to use another string and then lift that up so the back one is in line with the front one. As you can see, this can be a little bit fiddly and tricky, but just take your time and you will get it right. I'm then going to move on to the laces. On this sandal, they're actually holding a shape quite nicely here. So what you want to do is go ahead and do a really nice and neat bow. Make sure those bows is round. Then you have this long strap here that looks a bit awkward if it's just sticking out. I think it looks nicest if you place it in a nice curve. Pay attention to all those small details. You might, for example, want to try and hide the back lace. And once you're happy with that, you go ahead and take a picture. Then use all these techniques that I've shown you for all the other shots that you need as well. As you can see, I've covered a variety of different styles in this video. The most important thing to remember is to maintain those angles for each and every shot, even though the styles will vary. Don't forget to pick out those vital details to show it to your customers, and also make use of the styling tools that will always ensure you will have a really good looking shoe online. In this video, we're going to look at a variety of shoes and the best angles to cover to show as much as possible of the shoe. Before I start with the shot, I'm going to make sure they're clean. You can clean the shoe with the cloth. Another really good thing to use instead of a cloth is the canned air. The canned air gets rid of all those little dust particles that the cloth can't get rid of. So just spray the shoes. Also make sure any labels underneath the sole or the side is taken off. Our first shot is going to be our main shot.